Well, hello everybody, how are you doing this fine day? I hope you're enjoying your week. Welcome back to another Helldivers Survival Challenge, but we're doing things a little bit differently today. In my past Helldivers Survival Challenges, I always replaced the Helldiver with a soldier from another universe and then had them go after the Terminids and the Automatons, the alien races that exist within Helldivers. This one we're doing it the opposite. We're going to have the Helldivers go up against other alien species from other universes. Like basically, what would happen if these aliens also tried to invade Super Earth along with the Automatons and the Terminids? How would that go? How well would they do against them? All that jazz and whatnot. And you know what? I think I should probably go back and change the thumbnail of those other videos, because the thumbnail over there is like the soldiers on one side and the versus sign and then the fucking Helldivers, but I should really take the Helldivers out and replace them with pictures of like an Automaton and a Terminid, because it sort of makes it look like, you know, Commander Shepard is gonna fight against the Helldivers based on that. I'm gonna change that thumbnail. That kind of thumbnail makes way more sense for this type of video. Also, I've been thinking about playing Space Marine 2. I haven't yet. I haven't had time to, because I don't sleep a lot and I've been making these videos. But I have been thinking about playing that game all the way through, playing through the story, and then doing some kind of Space Marine 2 versus Helldivers type video. I'm not exactly sure what the challenge would be, but I think it's cool how the games are so similar, just in both themes as well as gameplay. And I don't know, I think they would mesh really well together. I'm not saying I'm putting Helldivers against the entire Warhammer universe, because I know they wouldn't stand a chance, but just maybe against the Space Marines that appear in that game, or maybe put them through a situation that happens in that game. I don't know. I'm gonna play the game and find out, but I just think having a bunch of Helldivers fighting against a bunch of like 12-foot tall fucking Space Marines, just it's a really cool fucking image. And I just think you could have really cool shit happen in that scenario. So it's something I've been thinking about. But I've wasted up your time. Let's get started. So I guess since this isn't really a part 3, but more so a totally new survival challenge, I kind of have to tell you about the Helldivers, you know, so you understand what the fuck the challenge even is. But before I do that, there is a very common comment that I got on the previous Helldiver videos that I need to address before we get started. Basically, there were a lot of comments that were saying that I was wrong when I said that Helldivers are the elite soldiers of Super Earth. People were saying that that's not true, and that the whole war machine that exists on Super Earth were basically just taking regular basic bitch people and just chucking them on the front lines to die. They're not trained, they don't have any real skills in combat, and the tutorial mission in Helldivers 2 shows just how little training they actually get before they are sent to the front lines. I have to completely reject this as an idea. I don't understand why it exists. For one, it's never been stated, written, explained by a developer or anything that the Helldivers aren't trained. In fact, the exact opposite is true. We know that there are regular soldiers within Super Earth that are sent out to planets. You can see their corpses when the Helldivers are sent down to the surface of the planets. There's a bunch of dead soldiers, and you are the elite force that goes there because they can't deal with it. It's said multiple times in the game that they are the most elite. I understand the world is full of propaganda and most of the shit that Super Earth says is just a straight up lie. I get that, I do. But there's literally nothing in the game or outside of the game stating that they're not well trained. As far as the tutorial mission point goes, one, it's a tutorial. Tutorials are always short. I mean, you could literally use that argument for every game in the history of ever. But also, that's not all the training that the Helldivers get. That's the final test right before they become a Helldiver. Up to that point, they've already had a bunch of training. They were soldiers before they became Helldivers. And lastly, the actual gameplay within the game of Helldivers completely goes against the idea that these people are not well trained. I mean, just look at how your Helldiver plays. A normal person pulled off the streets cannot shoot a sniper and hit any fucking target. If you've never used a sniper before, go out and try and fire a sniper and see what the fuck you can hit. You won't. You need some form of training and able to do that. You need some form of training or experience in order to reload a gun, because it's actually an awkward thing to do if you've never done it before, while being attacked by an army of bugs. Every single Helldiver is capable of hacking into computers, of reprogramming nuclear launch codes. They are marksmen. They can wield every type of weapon efficiently, from sniper rifles to automatic rifles to pistols to shotguns to fucking grenades, thermites, rocket launchers, you fucking name it, they can use it. They even have fucking rail cannons and energy weapons and lightning guns. You cannot just hand an average basic bullshit dude off the street a gun and then he just goes and kills a fucking automaton Hulk which is just a goddamn tank person with rockets on their shoulders, and then claim that that is an untrained person. When you're playing the game, look at how your Helldiver moves. Look at how he reloads his weapon. Look at how he aims and runs and leaps out of the way of danger. These are not normal people. These are trained individuals. It's ridiculous to claim otherwise. If that was the case and you just threw them out there, they would like be struggling to load their weapon and they wouldn't be able to fire and hit shit. They would be fucking terrible. They would die instantly. They would not be able to function in a war scenario. So no, not only do I not think that there's any evidence that these people are not trained, but there's evidence that directly goes against that. So having said that, what are our aliens going to have to face when they try to invade Super Earth and defeat the Helldiver threat? Like I said before, they have all sorts of handheld weapons that anybody else would have, from shotguns to automatic rifles to pistols to grenade launchers, all the normal stuff, sniper rifles. And then they have a bunch of stuff that like you wouldn't expect. Like I said, the rail cannon. You have a fucking arc lightning thrower that you shoot people and it jumps to other people. You have a lot of flame weapons. There is now, as of like a day or two ago, corrosive and acid weapons that not only poison and burn through the flesh of the people that you fire it at, but it also has some sort of mental toxin that actually confuses them and makes it so they can't function normally. They'll start attacking each other or just like wandering off from the fight. They just can't really deal, basically. But really the thing that makes the Helldivers is their destroyer. So every Helldiver has their own destroyer, and that destroyer just like chills up in the atmosphere of whatever planet they're fighting on. And they have these little grenade looking things that they program certain codes into, and they put the code in and they chuck the grenade, and when it hits the ground, instead of exploding, it calls a beacon that, based on the code they put in, the destroyer launches down some form of support. Whether that be a mini nuke or some other massive explosion or a barrage of gunfire or more ammunitions, bigger guns, some kind of stationary sentry turret or mortar, a fucking big ass metal tank that then opens up and just shoots mines everywhere. Basically any kind of support a Helldiver might need, they can call upon it from their destroyers, and it makes each individual Helldiver significantly more dangerous than just like a dude with a gun. Outside of actual combat, another thing that's going to make them very dangerous is just the basic Super Earth culture, which is essentially that they are all religiously loyal to Super Earth and are willing to die for Super Earth no matter what. They go down to whatever planet they're going down to aware that they're probably going to die for the glory of Super Earth, and this makes them a lot more dangerous because fear for their life doesn't really exist for the most part. You also have the fact that Super Earth has been in an ongoing war with several alien races for bare minimum several hundred years straight. So that initial discomfort and freak out that humans usually do when they're invaded by aliens isn't really going to exist, because this is just another day for a Helldiver. Oh, there's another type of alien that looks slightly different than all the fucking other aliens we've been fighting forever. Okay, they still die to guns, right? Let's fucking kill them with guns then. Basically, these alien species are going to be taken out of their comfort zone and thrown at a version of humanity who is super fucking prepared for them and really won't be scared of them in any way and will actually be able to fight them on par, which is something that most alien races in alien invasion movies have never actually dealt with before. So let's see how it goes. So first up on the chop block, we have the Xenomorphs from the Aliens franchise. And a part of me didn't actually want to use the Xenomorphs because I literally just made a Xenomorph video and it just seemed very Xenomorph heavy, you know, 2 videos in a row. Having said that, it just would have been weird if they weren't here. I mean, the Xenomorphs are the quintessential alien invader like movie character. I mean, they're from a movie called Alien and Aliens. They are the movie Alien. You can't have a conversation about movie aliens and not have them in it. It's just weird. I did make a list of like 15 movie aliens, so I can always do a part 2 and put other aliens on. I got like the aliens from Slither on there. I got the aliens from Mars Attacks. I got the Decepticons from Transformers on there. I got a whole bunch of aliens. As of right now, they're all movie aliens, but I can always add like video game aliens to that list too and do a part 2. Don't worry, I got other stuff, but you know, I had to do Xenomorphs. So what can the Xenomorphs do? Well, luckily they're pretty simple to talk about. Throughout all the Xenomorphs, there's only really 3 types. You have the Queen, that's just like a giant fucking Xenomorph, maybe the size of like a small building, or I don't know, like a large trailer maybe. And she lays a bunch of fucking eggs. Those eggs open and these things called face huggers come out. They grab you in the face, they put eggs in your belly. After a very short amount of time, what feels like maybe a couple hours, a Xenomorph develops and then it pops out of your fucking chest. And then it grows into a Xenomorph like drone or soldier, and then those are more normal size, but they have all kinds of cool abilities. For one, they're pitch fucking black, so they're damn near impossible to see in the dark, which is something that I don't think a lot of people talk about, that the design actually makes them really good stealth hunters. They have this little mouth thing that they shoot in your head and your fucking head explodes. They have a tail, a very strong tail that can just stab right through people, lift them up, toss them around like they're nothing. And of course, the most dangerous thing about them, which is that their blood is made out of this sort of molecular acid. And if you wound them or cut them or hurt them in any way and they bleed on you, you're basically dead. The acid rips through your flesh and your skin, metal. I mean, it burns through the hull of a spaceship. It is a very, very strong acid that makes it kind of difficult to actually fight them because you really can't shoot them if they get too fucking close to you because just their blood splatter is gonna fucking kill you. On top of that, their physicals are actually very good as well. It ranges from movie to movie. Like in Alien vs. Predator, that's not really canon. They're shown being swung around and smashed through concrete, and they can smash other people through like solid several feet of concrete. In their own movies, they're never really shown to be that strong, but they're easily strong enough to overpower any normal human and just like ragdoll the fuck out of them. Now, there is more to it than this if you get into the extended universe with the comic books and stuff, as there are different types of soldier xenomorphs that have different sort of abilities and powers and stuff. It doesn't range too greatly, and it's really not going to change anything, so I'm not going to go over every single one, but there are slight variations. Some are smaller and faster, some are bigger and stronger, and while they do vary, it's minimal variation. So the question then becomes, how will the Xenomorphs do if they arrive in the universe of Helldivers and try to invade Super Earth? And this question in this one, as well as many of the other ones I'm going to talk about, really depends on where they land. Are they going to land directly on Super Earth, or do they have to get to Super Earth? And the answer to that question to me is probably going to be not on Super Earth. The fact of the matter is that Super Earth has been fighting against several different alien races that have been trying to invade them for hundreds and hundreds of years, and none of them have been able to actually get to the planet yet and invade it. It's never happened. So while I am going to make a bit of an assumption here, I think it's a pretty safe assumption to say that Super Earth has a lot of anti-air defense stuff that is specifically designed to defend against things they don't want landing on their planet. It would make no sense for Super Earth to not have something like that, considering that we in real life have it and we're not being invaded by aliens constantly. So it would just make way more sense if the Xenomorphs landed on some planet outside of Super Earth, possibly in Terminated territory, possibly on another human planet that just isn't Super Earth, but not actually on Super Earth. So if that was the case, what exactly would happen? They're gonna do fucking horribly, I'm not gonna lie. So it almost seems like a large portion of the universe of Helldivers was specifically designed to fight against the Xenomorphs. For one, the Xenomorphs are just straight up held back by their own biology. The fact of the matter is that they just don't have a guaranteed way of breeding without specifically taking over the bodies of other species. And this is going to be one of their greatest weaknesses. Let's say that they launch on a planet that is run by Super Earth and the Helldivers. Well, every single Helldiver has a fucking helmet that blocks their mouth. So the face huggers that hug your face and then stick a fucking thing down your throat and lays eggs in your belly can't do that if you're wearing a fucking helmet. That's already going to be a massive issue for them to overcome. They also have to get over the fact that Helldivers have armor that defends against acidic and caustic attacks. So the Xenomorph blood is not going to be a threat to them in the same way that it's a threat to anybody else in their own movies. One Helldiver with an automatic weapon can just go ham on a fucking small army of Xenomorphs the same way that they go ham on Terminids. Many Terminids have acidic blood. The Bile Titans, for instance, are completely filled with acid, and you can kill them no fucking problem. They can launch whole massive acidic attacks. It's like the size of a fucking car and hit you dead on, and it won't kill you instantly, even if you're not wearing armor that's specifically meant to defend against it. If you are wearing armor that's specifically meant to defend against it, it doesn't do shit. So if they land on a planet controlled by humans, they'll be able to take over a little bit because not everyone's going to be a Helldiver. They'll have like normal citizens living there. They'll have scientists and soldiers that aren't Helldivers that don't wear the full body armor and shit, and those people will be able to be abducted and then bred at a very, very slow rate, I might add. But once the Helldivers catch on of exactly what's going on, they'll be able to go and just wipe out all the aliens. The aliens aren't even physically stronger than what they're used to fighting, as Helldivers can go up and just straight up start meleeing fucking Terminids, and they're super fucking strong. Xenomorphs are essentially just slower, weaker, and shittier versions of the Terminids with way less powers and abilities. Now, if the Xenomorphs land on a Terminid world, they'll do slightly better, maybe? Not really. Like I said, the Terminids are more powerful than the Xenomorphs just in general, as well as also being pretty fucking resistant to caustic attacks. Like, they could be hurt by it, but it doesn't do as much as you would think. And many of the Terminids just straight up have acid inside their bodies at all times. So it's just not going to do as much as you think. Now, what you wouldn't expect if you just watch the movies, you would think the face huggers wouldn't be able to actually hug the faces of the Terminids and impregnate them. That's not actually true, as if you read the comic books, a lot of times the face huggers will shift and change their form to basically be able to hug and impregnate any creature that they need to. I think they're shown impregnating T-Rexes and rhinoceros and all kinds of things with weird shaped heads and mouths. So I don't necessarily think they wouldn't be able to impregnate them. I just don't think they would be very successful at it for a couple of reasons. One, the Terminids don't have sight. Their sight, with quotations, is based on hearing. And if you cause any sort of vibrations or they hear you in any way scuttering about, like, you can't sneak up on any of the Terminids in the game. You can sneak up on automatons, you can't sneak up on Terminids because of the way they hear. This means that the face huggers aren't going to be able to sneak up on the Terminids, which means most face huggers are going to fail at their task of taking them over, since once the fucking Terminids are aware they're there, they'll just kill them. Because it's not difficult to kill a face hugger as long as you stop it from jumping on your face. They usually do it because they sneak up on people. And really, the Terminids are just better in every single way. They breed faster, they're stronger, some of them can fly, they're very resistant to the acid. The Xenomorphs are fucked here. It doesn't matter where they land or what they do. They've got nothing to offer this universe that it doesn't already offer a way stronger version of. And I haven't even gone over if they land on a fucking automaton planet where they're all fucking metal and they can't even impregnate them. And then you just got a queen there with nothing to do with a bunch of fucking face huggers that can't face hug anything. And then the automatons just come in and wipe them all out. Like, they're fucked. In all honesty, the Xenomorphs are just poorly designed for planetary invasion just in general because of the way they breed. The only reason why they work as a creature is because their movies are always about them in an isolated location with a couple of people where they can just, you know, take them over one by one. And it's a horror thing. But if you drop them on the surface of even our real world Earth, they're being wiped out very quickly. Not only do they not have any long range attacks, but they don't have any way of upping their population in a quick or efficient manner. And that's kind of important when you're talking about a fucking planetary invasion. You need to spread like a goddamn virus. Next up on the list, we got The Thing from Freddy Got Fingered. And lucky for me, this is another one that's pretty quick to explain. It has a really cool power, but its power is very simple. So the Thing is like, it's a thing. We don't actually know what it is, but it's a cell, and basically the way it spreads is that if its cell comes into contact with another person's cell, it then corrupts and assimilates all of that person's cells into itself. So all it really needs is physical contact with another person, and now you have you're infected now. And then you end up getting this shape-shifting creature that can look like anyone it wants to look like, and it has the same personality. We don't know if it gets the same memories, but it seems like it might. That person that it assimilates, it basically gets all of that shit into itself. And then it becomes this massive hive mind where all of these different people are just part of the same organism that could split into different parts, and it's the Thing. It's a very fucking weird creature. So how would the Thing do in the Helldivers universe? Just like before, I don't think it's going to be able to land on Super Earth. I think they'll blow it out of the fucking sky before it ever gets there. So it's going to have to land on a completely different planet, either a human planet or a Terminid planet. Again, if it lands on the automaton planets, because it's biological in nature and that's sort of how it spreads, it won't be able to spread, and the fucking automatons are going to wipe it out instantly. So what happens if it arrives on a human world? Well, much like the Xenomorphs, at first it's going to spread really fast, although admittedly far more successfully than the Xenomorphs will, for a couple of different reasons. One, it's not going to be instantly obvious that something is spreading because it can look like a regular human. So just out of that sheer fact, it's going to take a while before people actually figure out that there's an invasion even going on. But it's not like Invasion of the Body Snatchers where this thing can literally just hide in plain sight. It's pretty bad at it, and it generally comes out to attack a lot. I mean, even in the original Freddy Got Fingered, it appeared on a base in the middle of nowhere with, like, I don't know, what, 6-7 guys, and they were able to figure out it was there super fucking quick. If there was that much of a struggle for it to remain hidden from just like a handful of dudes, it's gonna have a massive struggle staying hidden from an entire society of people. But even if we give it the benefit of the doubt and say that it takes over every normal person on the planet, that's not really gonna matter, because again, it has to make physical contact with someone in order to impersonate them or assimilate them into their group. And once again, the Helldivers have a ton of armor. Every inch of their body is covered with some kind of plating, with the exception of the Viper Commandos, understandably, but that's not the majority of their army. Most of their army is completely plated. So as long as the Helldivers keep their armor on, the Thing will not be able to easily infect them. And the Thing's not really that strong. Like, it's never shown ripping through iron or metal or anything like that. We don't know if it can get through armor plating. It really just kills people who aren't armored in its own series. So there's really no evidence that even if the thing did try to attack a Helldiver, that it would do a particularly good job. And honestly, I think it would get to the point that even if it took over an entire planet, once the Helldivers figure out what's going on, they're gonna send a couple of people down to the planet with armor and flamethrowers, and they're just gonna completely lay waste to the whole planet. And unlike something like the Terminids that can constantly keep breeding over and over again and keep building their numbers, so it's like basically forms like this sort of forever never-ending war, if the thing has no biological creature to assimilate with, like if it took over the whole planet and it can't leave that planet and it can't assimilate the Helldivers because they're armored, they'll just mow through the whole thing. They'll mow through the whole planet, fucking carpet bomb the planet from space, just napalm the whole surface of the planet, kill it all, and that's it. That's the end of the fucking thing. It just doesn't have what it needs to overcome even the basic Helldiver troops. Maybe there's something that could happen where it somehow infects like a single soldier, or maybe does infect like a Viper Commando who does have their skin showing, and then gets back onto a destroyer ship, lays low long enough to get back to Super Earth, becomes a bigger problem there. But I still don't think that that's enough to just straight up wipe out all of the Helldivers and take over Super Earth, because no matter what you do, once the invasion actually starts on Super Earth or wherever, they're gonna pick up on it relatively quickly, quarantine that area off, and then do the same thing. Drop a couple of Helldivers down with some flamethrowers and heavy armor and just lay waste to all life in the area. And Super Earth has no issues with killing innocent people, even their own people. So yeah, they're not going to be able to do this. Now, if they come into contact with a Terminid world first, that changes things a little bit. While the Terminids do have acidic abilities, not all of them have that, and I would argue that a big ass blob of acid is not going to be as effective as just carpet bombing a place or just laying waste to something with a flamethrower. It's still a direct attack that hits one location. And in order to permanently put down the thing, you basically have to destroy all cells of it. If there's a single cell left of the thing, it's not dead, and it can spread to a new organism. So you have to completely burn the entire thing until every cell is dead. The Terminids don't have that capability. It's going to spread through the Terminids a lot. And this is where a certain question comes up. Once it spreads throughout all the Terminids, and the Terminids are all now assimilated with a thing, will they keep the Terminid ability to breed really quickly? Because we never see if the thing is capable of breeding like humans do once it assimilates humans. I'm assuming no, because it's a different organism now, and we see that it spreads through assimilation, not through breeding. So I would assume that if it took over all of the Terminids, it would no longer have the ability to breed like they do and just create trillions of fucking bugs. But I might be wrong on this one. I'll put this one up to you guys. Either way though, I think you're still looking at the same problem. They don't have a way to get off the planet. The thing will still just be stuck on one world of the Terminid homeworld. And one thing that we know from Super Earth and their war with the Terminids is that Super Earth can actually wipe out the Terminids anytime they want to, but they have specifically chosen not to because the blood of the Terminids acts in much the same way that oil does, and it's extremely valuable. So they're perpetuating the war forever so that they have an infinite supply of this oil-like blood. If the thing takes over the Terminids, we see in the original Freddy Got Fingered movie that their blood is completely different now. It's not normal blood. It literally affects every single cell in their body and turns it into a different substance. So the Terminids that have been assimilated by the thing will no longer have that oil blood. Their blood will now be turned into what the thing is, which means that Super Earth will have no reason to keep them alive. So Super Earth would just do the same thing I said before. All you do is bombard the entire planet, then you send down Helldivers to finish it off, heavily armored and with big ass flamethrowers. Then once you're done scouring the whole planet, you think you got everything, you have all the Helldivers leave. Before you leave, you have everyone's blood tested. If they test positive, they can get on the ship. If they don't, they get fucking fried. Then everybody just leaves the fucking planet, and Super Earth keeps an eye on the planet to make sure that nothing goes fucking weird. Now, did they likely get every single cell on that planet? Probably not, but they don't really have to. As long as you remove most of the life on the planet so that the thing can't continue to assimilate and stop it from leaving the planet, you're good. You got it trapped there, basically. And eventually the thing will either show itself or just fucking die out. It'll certainly be a massive annoyance, but it's not going to be this huge thing that's going to completely overthrow the Helldivers of Super Earth. At least not after they figure out what it is and how it spreads. Once they know that, the thing's reign is over. It's done. Next up on the list, we have Kaiju from Pacific Rim. If you've seen Pacific Rim, you might be watching this video a little bit confused, thinking as to why the Kaiju are not last on the list, because they are several 100-foot tall giant monstrosities that can destroy whole cities without too much issue. How the fuck can the Helldivers do anything to them? Well, hold the fuck up and I'll explain it to you. Goddamn. So in the universe of Pacific Rim, the Kaiju came to Earth a long time ago. Millions and millions and millions of years ago, before the existence of humans, when dinosaurs were around. But once they arrived, they realized that they couldn't live on the planet because the atmosphere just wasn't an atmosphere that they could live in. Filthy with, well, pollution. Basically, the Kaiju can only live on planets that have an extremely high level of toxins and pollution in the air. They breathe it in like we breathe in oxygen. So before the existence of humanity, the atmosphere was too clean for them to live, so they dug underground and then just hibernated for as long as they had to until the atmosphere got to the point that it was sustainable for them, which obviously humans came in, started polluting shit, and made it possible for them to live there. Once they did, the Kaiju came up and then tried slaughtering all the humans, the people who made them living on the planet be possible. What a bunch of ungrateful little bitches. Outside of that information, there's so little that we actually know about the Kaiju. We don't know how or if they breed. We don't know how they travel from one world to another. We just don't really know anything about them. All we know is that they're a bunch of giant monsters that aren't originally from Earth and that are hiding inside the Earth, that come out for the sole purpose of us watching entertainment as they fight giant robots. So there's a few different ways I can do this scenario. I could do it as if the Kaiju are already inside the Earth of Super Earth and they just pop up directly on Super Earth. Basically the exact same way it's done in Pacific Rim. The problem is, I don't think they would wake up if that was the case. In the world of Pacific Rim, the entire planet is hyper industrialized and the pollution is just fucking everywhere. Like, it's a big plot point that pollution on Earth in Pacific Rim is significantly worse than it is in our real world. It's gotten really fucking bad. But that actually hasn't happened in Helldivers. In Helldivers, the pollution is actually significantly less than our real world. And the reason for this is because of the Terminids. We've been at war with the Terminids for hundreds and hundreds of years, taking their blood and using their blood as a resource, basically just like we would for oil. That became our main source of energy. This means that in the Helldiver universe, they're not burning coal, they're not fracking, they're not doing any of the shit that we do today that pollutes our world. And they've been doing this for hundreds of years bare minimum, which means for the last who knows how many hundred years in the Helldivers universe, there hasn't been any pollution. Basically, if the Kaiju were hiding inside Super Earth just like they were on Earth in Pacific Rim, they wouldn't have woken up yet, and they probably never will. As long as the Terminids are there to give us an energy source, which is their blood, we have no reason to cause any pollution. And this is kind of shown to be the case based on what we see on Super Earth. I mean, all the waters in Super Earth look crystal clear. The skies are nice and blue. There really isn't any pollution that we see on the whole planet. I know most of the stuff that we see as Super Earth is propaganda, but you really can't deny just how good and clean the world looks. It looks like a paradise. There's a reason why so many Helldivers are convinced that it's the greatest thing ever, that they need to fight and die to defend. Okay, so the Kaiju can't go to Earth because they can't survive. So where can they go? How can they invade the Helldivers universe? And really, there's only one way they could. They're not going to be able to invade the Terminid homeworld for the exact same reason. The Terminids don't fucking pollute anything. They're just a bunch of bugs. There's no pollution on a Terminid world. That only leaves the Automaton world. And yes, the Automaton worlds are super fucking polluted. The Automatons are machines. They don't have need for food or clean air or any of that shit. And their planets are absolutely covered in fucking factories that just produce weapons and armaments and new troops. And those factories are shown to have pollution coming out of the top of the vents and shit, so we know their planet is polluted. That means the Kaiju can only live on Automaton worlds. Basically, the Kaiju will kind of help out the Helldivers. They can just sit back and watch as the Kaiju rip through the fucking automatons and not really even do anything. And if that does happen, the automatons haven't been shown to have any sort of weapons that are powerful enough to put down a several 100-foot tall fucking Kaiju. Maybe at some point the automatons can put enough of their resources together to build a massive fucking automaton that could fight against the Kaiju on par. That might be possible, but as of right now, it doesn't exist. So for sure, at the start, it's going to be a problem. I don't think it's a stretch to say that the Kaiju will likely completely take over at least one world that the automatons have. And this is where the next big problem for the Kaiju come in. We're never shown them having the ability to travel to other worlds. We know somehow they can because they arrived to Earth, billions of years ago, but we have no idea how they did it or if they can do it again. They have no reason to leave Earth in the Pacific Rim universe. Did they just catch a ride on a fucking meteor? Did they take a ship here? Were they a bunch of little eggs in a capsule originally when they got here? Like, how the fuck did a small army of several 100-foot aliens get to the planet? We don't know. We have absolutely no clue. So I can't say whether or not they have the ability to do it again and travel to another world once they take over the first automaton world. Let's say they can, right? Let's say they can take over the world and somehow they can leave the planet and go to a new planet in some way, using some sort of mysterious method. This would make them vastly more dangerous and possibly even dangerous enough to attack some other human, maybe not Super Earth, but other human worlds outside of Super Earth and become Helldivers problems. Like I said before, the humans don't have any reason to pollute any worlds, but with humans constantly fighting with automatons over worlds, it's very possible that humans have taken worlds from automatons that were once automaton worlds that are super polluted. So it is reasonable to suggest that if Kaiju can jump from world to world, they might actually start fucking with some humans. If that's the case, can the Helldivers actually deal with them? Yes, but only one way that we've been able to see. So none of their weapons are strong enough to actually fight against the Kaiju. Even from their destroyer ships, like their little nuke things that they launch on, none of that is good enough to destroy a Kaiju. However, this isn't the first time the Helldivers have been completely overtaken by an alien race, and we've seen what they do when that happens. So at one point, there actually was a planet that became so infested with Terminids in the Helldiver universe that Super Earth basically just decided, this can't be saved. We can't even send Helldivers there. There's no point. This world is just gone. So they used some kind of fucking technology, I don't know what, to open up a black hole where the planet was, and they destroyed the whole fucking planet. Yeah, they have planet destroying technology. So if the Kaiju isn't capable of leaving the planet not only efficiently but also very fucking quickly, Super Earth can just blow up the fucking planet whenever they think that the Kaiju are just too much of a threat for them. You can also use this same logic against the Thing, by the way. You need to remember what the plot of Helldivers actually is. The game is not about Super Earth trying to win a war against all these different alien species. The game is about the government of Super Earth purposely perpetuating this war for hundreds and hundreds of years so they can get more power, money, and resources. At any time they want to, they can end the war. They choose not to. They have far more firepower and options than the game initially lets you believe if you're just playing through it real quick without really paying closer attention. So normally I would say the Kaiju are a massive threat, but because of their limitations of where they can live and how they can travel between worlds, it sort of makes them not as big of a threat as you'd think. Last up, but certainly not least, we have the Mimics from Edge of Tomorrow. And I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea why they're called Mimics, because they don't fucking mimic anything. Like, they don't copy powers or look like other people. They're just a fucking amalgamation of a bunch of different tentacles. They're just these big tentacle looking monster things. They look cool, but I don't get the name. Much like the Xenomorphs, the Mimics have a hierarchy of 3 different alien types. The lowest being the drone, slightly higher than that being the alphas, and then one massive omega, which is basically like the brain that controls all of them, because the Mimics are a hive mind that are described as just a massive nervous system to a body, where every single thing that each individual Mimic sees, hears, feels is all shared among the entire army, meaning if you fuck with one, they all fucking know about it now. That in of itself is a pretty dangerous power, but it's not the most dangerous power. Most dangerous power is that for whatever fucking reason, I don't know how you get this through evolution, but if you kill an alpha, this activates its power to go back in fucking time. So basically it's not possible for them to lose any engagement ever, because when they do, they reset the clock and get to try again, except this time they have knowledge of what happened last time. So it's not possible to surprise them, out-strategize them, overpower them. None of this shit matters, because whatever you fucking do, they're gonna know about it, and you're not gonna understand how they know about it because they're aware of the alternate timeline and you're not. For obvious reasons, this is gonna cause massive fucking problems for the Helldivers because they can't control fucking time as far as we know. So the fucking fight's over. Might as well stop talking. I mean, how the fuck do you get around someone who can control goddamn time? Once again, slow your fucking horses, everybody, because they actually have some pretty fucking major weaknesses. For one, much like the Kaiju, we don't actually entirely understand how it is they behave. Outside of just, combat. We don't know how they breed, and we don't really know if they can travel to different planets. We know they got to Earth in Edge of Tomorrow by traveling on an asteroid, and it's theorized by a scientist in the movie that there are probably millions of asteroids flying around with Mimics on them that are just crash landing on planets and taking them over. Okay, cool. But now that they're on Earth, are they capable of launching another asteroid from that planet to another one? Like, can they just keep traveling between worlds? Where do these asteroids come from? And the problem is that we don't actually know. So for this challenge, should I just assume that they could probably launch an asteroid from one planet to another and spread like that? Or should I just say that the asteroids are just falling in all over on planets across all of the Helldivers universe, and they're just dropping on all different sorts of planets? I'm just gonna go with they can travel from one asteroid to another, because I didn't do that for the Kaiju, and I'm not gonna do that for the Kaiju, I'm not gonna do that for the Mimics. It's fine, we'll do it that way. They land on one planet initially, and then can keep launching asteroids from planet to planet to planet. I don't know how accurate that is, but it does make sense. Like, these asteroids have to fucking come from somewhere. They weren't just created out of the ether, so I'm going to assume that they have some ability to just fucking launch shit into space. So having said that, how are they going to do if they are sent to the Helldivers universe? Pretty fucking good. They're not particularly powerful, right? They can be killed with guns. They are stupidly fucking fast and agile. They can also dig underground and pop up and ambush people. Overall, they're pretty fucking threatening, just because of their sheer speed and fucking ferocity. When they come at you, it's just this ball of tentacles that just slice you up. But the issue is not going to be how powerful they are in killing them. It's going to be the fact that they can keep fucking predicting what you're going to do, and you just have no knowledge about how they're doing this. But there is one unbelievably stupid fucking weakness that the Mimics have, and that is that their time control powers are in their blood. So most of the army are drones. They're just like these little drones. They don't have time control powers. You kill them and they fucking die. The ones with time control powers are the alphas, but the time control is in their blood. So if you kill an alpha and the alpha's blood spills on you, you now acquire that fucking time power and you become a part of the loop. So every time the day is reset, you reset with it. You can even take control over the set yourself if you die. You basically become a part of their nervous system and can reset time against their will. Now, while this is a pretty rare occurrence, it doesn't happen that often that you're soaked in the blood of a fucking alpha, because one, most people have issues fighting alphas to begin with, since they're just really powerful drones. Also, you just happen to have to be able to kill it to the point that its blood spills on you. So yes, the likelihood of this happening is rather slim. Having said that, in the story of Edge of Tomorrow, they only invade one planet, and this shit happens twice. On two different occasions, a character is covered in an alpha's blood and gets the fucking time control powers. And they're only invading one planet. If they're attacking the fucking Helldivers universe, they are literally fighting dozens, if not several dozens of planets with trillions of people in combat. If it happened twice on one planet where there's only, 8 billion people, it's gonna happen like a fucking dozen times in the Helldivers universe. Alphas are kind of rare. There's one alpha for every like 6 point something million drones. So you don't fight them all the time, but yeah, the odds of it spilling its blood on you is relatively high when you have that many fucking people fighting across an entire galaxy. So it's very possible that there's going to be multiple Helldivers who are going to have the fucking reset power just like they do. Or at least that's what I would say if I didn't already say earlier in this video that the Helldivers are fully fucking armored and their armor has resistance to acidic properties. The Alpha's blood in Edge of Tomorrow is acidic. So in the movie, when Cage kills the Alpha and his blood splashes on his face, it literally melts through the front of his fucking face and melds with his blood. If that exact same scenario happens in Helldivers, their armor is going to defend them against the blood, and the blood's not going to mix with theirs, so they're not going to get the fucking time powers. So it's really only going to happen if you're wearing very specific types of armor. This makes it far less likely that the Helldivers are actually going to acquire this power, and that means that the Mimics will eventually overcome them, because otherwise, how the fuck do you even fight against it? Every single plan they come up with, every single thing they try to do, oh, we found a base full of Mimics, we're going to launch a fucking nuke and blow it up. You go to the location to launch the nuke, a bunch of fucking Mimics are there waiting for you, and the fucking camp you want to destroy isn't fucking there anymore because they saw you do it in another timeline. It's bullshit. You can't beat them. So what exactly do I think is going to happen? Now, is it possible that their blood is so acidic that it can actually burn through some of their armors? Sure, because not all of their armor has this sort of caustic resistance. Well, it all has a little bit of caustic resistance, but some are significantly better than others. Is it possible that there's some shitty Helldiver armor out there that the acidic properties can get through and get into and cause a Helldiver to get the power? Yeah, it's possible, but I kind of have to just assume that their armor's shitty for that to happen. I don't know, man. This is a hard one. I think the Mimics may actually be able to win. Maybe if somehow Super Earth can get its hands on an alpha and figure out about the time shenanigans. But again, anytime they would get their hands on one, the alphas will just reset the timeline and change it so that they can't get their hands on it. Time bullshit is fucking bullshit. So yeah, I kind of have to say the Helldivers will eventually fall, and there's probably 1,000 different ways they can fall. Who knows? But the point is, if the Mimics have an infinite number of tries to just keep trying over and over again to take over Super Earth, it's only a matter of time before they do exactly that. If you stretch out the timeline long enough to complete a goal, that goal becomes impossible to not complete. So yeah, basically, Helldivers lose, and they lose because they're very heavily armored. If they were less heavily armored, they could fucking win. How stupid is that? Now, it's not impossible they don't win. It's absolutely possible that a Viper Commando who's less armored does get covered in it and they win. But the chances do become far less. Like, they would have to wear a very specific type of armor and then get bled on by a very specific type of Mimic that there aren't that many of in the army. It's possible their chances are just significantly lower. So yeah, I say the Mimics win with, I don't know, 80-85% likelihood. But that's going to be all from me. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, and join the membership. Remember, if you join the membership, you get videos early. And always remember, y'all stay safe out there, you hear?